Okay, so Empower has a very, it goes about Marcia being very liking things and everything. So we have this thing about white chairs. So we ordered white chairs, and instead of renting them, we decided to buy them. So we are white chairs. So thank you everyone for, again, and obviously I'm Desiree Patno for NAWRB, and what this is you saw 3 of the ladies that are on the previous panel that are part of our NDILC. They are the ladies who I meet with every month, who sit on subcommittees with me. They're the women who champion, they're the reason they want to go too far over is because you'll lose the light. Erica, you're going to be in the dark.
Oh, I just want to make sure too.
Okay, make sure too. Well, that's why they're trying to make you guys kind of circular. Because you're in the dark now, Erica, just a little.
What's new?
What's new? She's been holed up at the Pentagon for 3 months. Literally in the dark. So it's a whole new perspective on it. You're going to sit right there and see us? Okay, thank you. Tammy, come on up.
There's not enough
Yeah, okay,
chairs.
you know what? Bring it to the chairs. Tammy, up. Sorry, we have 7 chairs. We need a short one chair. Sorry. We're all good. I love it.
That's right.
You can sit in the dark. Hey, I'm standing, okay? So what this is that this is our leadership council that we formed 4 years ago. Rebecca Steele, the woman who, regarding the financial foreclosure crisis that was back in 2008, 2009, when anyone had a Bank of America loan? No. Anyone had the white tent sales that did a short sale back in the day? She was the woman who was responsible. Let me rephrase it. She was the person who was responsible to make sure that you had a white tent, that you could bring your buyer, homeowner to this table to make sure that you could get your short sale approved or loan modification done within 1 hour. They had 1,500 of them around the tent. So what happened is that with her, she said, Desiree, let's do this. I'm willing to mentor. I'm willing to communicate and make a stronger connection on all the things that are going on. This is during the time that she was going through her issues that they were trying to indict her with it. And so hence the council was formed. And these women come from all different industries. They represent everything from, we have all the way from veterans to technology to accounting to real estate to tech to backdoor entries of the GSEs. And the purpose of this council is to meet once a month to deliberate on and grow the impact of what we can do to leverage each other and to really come and talk about the issues that we have experienced. And that way we can help each other and also help the ecosystem for economic independence is what we got together. So we just have our once a year in-person meeting for the last 3.5 hours. And fortunately, the synergy was so great that I kept going to where we got to like the last and narrowed it down. So one of the things we want to talk about here is, you heard the first session where we had MBA talk about how incredible panel they put together, right? About the leaders in all different industries. This one is going to be really about, they're going to talk about some stories about themselves, about what they can relate to, about leadership, what that means, because that's what today is all about. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor, and I can have each one of them introduce themselves, give a couple minutes about their background, but have them tell you about a leadership, and I like Marcia's question, pros or cons, best or worst, that they can bring to the table and give you a little bit of insight about who they are, because each one of them have a completely different personality that I love so much. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Tammy.
Okay. Hi, my name is Tammy Hannan, and I'm a tax partner with BDO. I'm actually based out of Orange County, so pretty close. I've been in public accounting for about 20 years. I did take a small hiatus and went into industry. I do focus with working on real estate clients, so that's been kind of my background, and then my time in industry was working for a home developer in Newport Beach.
Hello everyone, I'm Chitra. I'm an AI scientist and I'm the founder and CEO of AmicusBrain Innovation, which is all about bringing the digital and AI technologies to reimagine caring for the world's older population. By that we mean We have an emerging crisis in terms of the swelling numbers of aging people around the globe, and we are attempting to change how care management is done with the older folks by providing decision support, digital companionship, and farm protection.
Okay, wow. I don't know if I can top that one. My name is Teresa Palacio Smith, and I'm so excited that I'm here with you today in this incredible panel. Desiree, thank you so much for pulling us together and for being part of this incredible group. Just to give you my background or something, a nugget, I head up diversity and inclusion for HSF affiliates, and for those of you who are not familiar with HSF, we run 2 brands. We run Real Living Real Estate, which is not as well known as Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. I'm sure you all have heard of Berkshire Hathaway. Linda, I know you're part of our team there. So, we run those 2 companies, and what I think my nugget is that at any given time, I have always held leadership positions, even from when I was in high school, right? I always ran things or was in charge of things, but I never got the credit for it, right? I was always too scared to say, I did this. And I think sometimes we as women undervalue ourselves and don't speak up and don't feel that we have the right to say, I'm a leader, or I can do that, or please choose me, or let me run. So I just want to encourage all of you to do that, because I think sometimes we don't think that we can do something, or we're told by somebody else that you're not good enough, you can't do it, and you let that scare you. So don't let that scare you, because look at where I am today, and I'm just going up even further within my company. So I'm very excited about the opportunities that I've had because of the fact that I have spoken up, and because I've been, I've actually stepped up to the plate and said, I want to be a leader and I want to do this.
Awesome. I'm Tami Bonnell. I'm the CEO for Exit Realty Corp International, and I love being on this leadership group. I think that it's really, we're getting to see some great change. I thought I would actually share a story with you from a leadership perspective. I was trying to think about what would be probably the most help. And our company started in Canada. Exit was built on human potential. Truthfully, that's the philosophy of the company, is building on human potential. And it started in Canada. They have the best banking system in the world. So they don't have short sales. They don't have foreclosures. They're pretty conservative in how they go about everything. And during the recession, we decided as a company that we would put people before profits, and that the human element was too valuable, and that we had to lead by example, that if we were going to build on human potential, then we needed to lead that way the whole entire time. So during the recession, it was a shock and awe for people in Canada, because they never saw it. So they thought every closing that went into the books was actually going to close. Short sales aren't really short. And so it was an unbelievable, shocking picture for us, and we're a privately held company. So we actually had to outsell and outthink our way out of the recession. But the one thing we decided we would not compromise on was our people. We didn't let one single person let one single person go, and every single person on our leadership team, we decided we would take a pay cut until everything was solved, and we would prove that we deserved the positions we were in. And that made a huge difference on everybody staying with us. So the average time somebody's been with us in a leadership position is over 15 years. And out of the top 18 leaders in our company, 12 of them are female.
My name is Stephanie Derblinger, and I'm the Chief Product Officer for Station Lending Technologies. We are a technology company that is trying to better the financial industries and homeownership for all. My leadership story, I guess, would be a little more around how I lead leaders, which I think is something that is a little difficult at times, right? Because people are leaders in their own right, and giving them the room to develop themselves into leaders and not impose my will necessarily, but to influence a collective strategy and gain the best out of them to help move that strategy forward has been pretty difficult and rewarding at the same time, and it's really what's helped us continue to move forward.
Hi everyone, my name is Rachel Bean-Jarris, and I am a manager in the single-family space for Fannie Mae under collateral risk. So that's a lot of words. What does that mean, basically? Well, what it boils down to is I'm a real estate appraiser. What is a real estate appraiser doing up here, right? Why did Fannie Mae send a real estate appraiser to this event? Well, the truth is diversity and inclusion is something that I'm very passionate about. 2 years ago with a special project group, a very small group of people, 3 people to be exact. We joined hands and said, you know what, we've got to do something about the real estate appraisal industry. It is 75% men and 87% white. So we have some gaps there. And so we created an awareness program. And as I sit here today, I'm excited to tell you that that program has been funded for a second phase. And it's not only are we bringing awareness to the industry of appraisal, but we're also out there talking to neighborhoods and to markets that have been impacted and places that we feel we could really add some diversity to the industry. Because, and this is speaking for myself, I believe that everybody needs to have a seat at the table. Whether it's gender, whether it's race, whatever we're talking about, the table needs to expand and we all need to sit there. And that's how we improve everything.
Excellent.
Rockstar.
Oh, please, you've already heard my story. If I were to give some advice that was given to me, there's 2 points here, was, hey Eric, I know you're passionate, but make sure your portfolio or whatever it is that you're working on is here. So when the daggers and the knives come at you, it's away from your heart. So keep a little bit of distance between you and what you're doing so you don't get so sucked in and let it sort of control you emotionally. And for the new leaders out there, the older you get, the easier it gets. Statistics generally show that when men and women, I was talking about this earlier in their career and leadership positions, women are here, men are here. Men are seen as better leaders. But an interesting thing happens. As this line pretty much stagnates throughout a male's career in terms of perception, when women are in their mid-30s and in their 40s, we then surpass perception in terms of leadership qualities. So women are seen as, which is interesting, better leaders. So when you're young, at least what I learned, was you're not going to change everybody's minds. A lot of times, especially being in the military, you're not wanted in a lot of fields. And they will tell you, you're not wanted. Go away. And so you have to kind of just take a step back and say, hey, that's their bias. I'm here to do a job, and I'm here to keep you guys safe. You learn to take the leaders within your cell and let them do the dirty work. Let them police up the problem children. Because there's always 20-30% problem children. I don't have time to focus on the problem children. You guys focus. And they're usually more senior. So that strategy worked for me. And then, again, as you get older, your reputation follows you and it gets easier. So don't feel like you have to do all the work yourself. Put others to work.
Excellent, thank you. One thing you need to know is each one of them has something to give in a different way, from a different industry, from a different perspective. You have, the only two that are similar would be Tammy and Teresa. Tammy over here, when she started working for Realty, had 0 franchises. Now there's 650?
675.
675 in 25 years, and the point is that they don't own one. All the franchises are franchised out. And here you have Teresa for the Berkshire Hathaway. Obviously, Berkshire Hathaway has a name. You have a few hundred companies beside it. But the idea is that they have completely different models. And correct me if I'm wrong, Tammy, yours are more that like employment level. The idea is that you have profit sharing, and they've given
It's actually residual income, it's not profit.
Okay.
So we reward people kind of who Salem Alton, right? Salem created more millionaires than anybody because he rewarded them for the percentage of the company they helped build. So we reward people for the percentage of the company they help build, but we don't sell lawnmowers and coffee pots, right? So we give them residual income. It started off in the music industry, the entertainment industry, in insurance. You sell a policy, and next year when the policy renews, you get paid again. So that steady, consistent stream of income. So anyone that introduces someone into the company, they receive the equivalent of 10% of the gross commission, up to $10,000 a year, every year for as long as that agent's with the company. And as good as that is, when they retire, they make 7% of that income in retirement. The other 3% goes to the brokerage, because we want the brokerage to have a ballast. So, but we deem retirement as anybody doing less than 8 transactions because we want top producers, so they could go get their hip replaced or go have a child and go on maternity leave and stay off for a couple of years, or they could stay with their parents while they transition because we really wanted them to have a quality of life. And we took it a step further and we thought about their families, so when they die, 5% of that income goes to their beneficiary. So it's really just benefits like real people with real jobs, much more of a business-minded philosophy.
Isn't that great? So completely different platform. And Berkshire Hathaway has a huge platform to tap into those 100 companies. So the idea is that what I wanted to really focus on is that I'd like to each one of you tell a story within your industry that really affected you, either personally or professionally, in the leadership space. That might be a little different spin than we've heard on the Empower Report. Anyone want to take a stab first?
I can go.
So I'll take you back to the year 2008 when the housing crisis unfolded and the country was in recession. I was at IBM Research, and a typical scientist focused on writing, thinking about the world that does not exist, imagining a future, and writing patterns and so on. And here was a crisis affecting millions of people, real people, and their households. So I was called upon to come and run the data program for a business that was completely owned by Fannie. So IBM was a mortgage servicer for Fannie. And so when I went in there, so this was my first introduction to how real Americans lived and paid their mortgage payments, how they were struggling with it. So it really, think about this as a most amazing real experiment that one could do, where you can bring the best of technology and put it in the hands of people who are serving these delinquent homeowners and save their households from foreclosure. So that really spoke to me. I had choices of not doing the work. I'm always being led by growth, and I've heard this wonderful saying, growth and comfort don't coexist. And while I could have stayed behind in IBM Research and continued to write the papers and gone along with the scientific career, this problem really spoke to my heart, and I vowed to myself to come out, learn about the space. For the next 10 years, that's what I did. Every day I woke up and went to bed thinking about the 7 to 9 million this year's homeowners who couldn't make their payments, who are being behind in their payments for 9 days or more, where the sheriff had to do some eviction notices in the household. So we were able to bring more than 15 plus data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence solutions that really analyze every single one of these householders, homeowners that we were processing. What is the best solution? Is loan modification the only solution that existed, or short sale and DDU, so everyone could walk away with their head and with dignity? So I was glad that I spoke to the challenge, that I spoke to that call rather, and stepped outside of my comfort zone and came to work for it. That was the best 10 years of my life, I would say. So that really carried on. So now I came out of IBM last year. I was a CEO for AI, and the people often ask me, why did you come out at the top of my career? It's again answering to this call. Now I'm looking at technology, building technologies to save humanity from the aging crisis, the green globe. So to do my part. So this is all about, I think, always stepping out of the comfort zone and embracing the challenges that come at you, and heeding the questions. Sometimes problems come to you and you just have to heed and go and solve for the world, for yourself.
That's excellent, Teresa. And I mean, Chitra and Teresa, as I was just saying, echo the fact that she's running to the problem, not away from the problem. So that is so powerful, because everyone in here, I'm sorry to say, you're older than you were yesterday. But that actually is the best thing, because that means you're still alive.
And yet you're the youngest still at the beach.
So I'll pipe in. So based on what we talked about, so I just got into this role 2 years ago, but I was a field agent. So for us, realtor on the street selling real estate. And in 2008, 2010, you guys know what happened, right? I mean, we're talking about it. And it was really hard, because one thing that I learned, you always, who would might choose? I know that was a book that somebody said they love, and it's one of my favorite books too. But change is always really hard, right? We always have difficulty with change. And we, at that time, were hit with such a scenario that there were no buyers, and Atlanta is where I live. And we have a lot of relocations that come into Atlanta. And that was the largest piece of business that I had, was relocating Mercedes and high-end company employees and executives to the area. And then I realized there was no business. They couldn't sell their houses where they were coming from. They had to rent in our market. They were upside down, so they weren't even going to be able to buy. So it was really difficult. So how do I come across and do something totally different? So I started to pursue REO opportunities and HUD, which I knew nothing about. And I subscribed to I applied for a HUD contract, and I actually won a HUD contract, never having touched HUD, never understanding anything about it. It was like, oh my God, I didn't have any idea where to even start. But I faked it till I made it, right? I got a HUD contract, hired the right people, and that's the other thing, knowing the right people that you hire, sometimes they're not the right ones, right? And you can switch them to the right position. So taking that leadership role on to know what my strength was and what my weaknesses were, and also making sure I had the right people on my team to be successful. At any given time, I had 100 HUD REOs that I had in my inventory, say our company, that I had listed within my company. I know Desiree did this too, right? And also, somebody within a year, I had no idea what HUD was, but I became so expert, it was my expertise, that I was asked to teach classes on HUD within 6 months to everybody. Not to, HUD even wanted me to come and teach it to their people, because I got to know how to work it and what the quirks were and how to successfully implement a program that would help anybody do business. So just being able to diversify and change and adapt, I think that's the biggest thing I learned in leadership there.
I think change equals opportunity. There's always going to be change, and if you can look at it from a positive frame of mind and see that there's an opportunity in every single change, you just have to be ahead of the curve. And it doesn't matter what your business is, you really do need to have that 30,000-foot view, that 2,000-foot view, the street level view, and a perspective on yourself. What are you good at? And whatever your culture is in your company, you have to lead by example and live that culture. You cannot just preach it. We watched an awful lot of companies go under during the recession and during other times. We're hearing disruptors like crazy now, and it's creating a lot of fear with people, and yet 90% of business is still being done by real estate professionals. Are there things that need to be improved in it? Without question, there are. But it's only that other 10% that's being done on the outside. The problem is, when we face something, a lot of times we look at the problem instead of looking at what it is that we're doing. Your job, whatever you're doing, is in your windshield, and you're the driver of that vehicle, and that windshield is you going forward. You want to know what the competition's doing, but they're in your rear view mirror. And I do not mean that in any derogatory term whatsoever. It's that you want to know so you don't run into any blind spots, but you have to stay focused on where you want to go and what it is that you believe in and what you're passionate about and where your business is. We get along incredibly well. There are competitors out there, and competition gets you out of bed in the morning, but we're not all going to attract the same people. So don't worry about what they're doing. Worry about what you're doing every single day and make sure you live the culture. I think when I knew the culture really took on, as my statement to everybody is always be the solution, is when in New England, where I'm from, I started off as a regional owner for Exit, and then went from there to vice president and president, and I became CEO in 2012. And all of my offices decided that they were going to be the solution and work together as a team with everybody. And we had a broker that had a massive heart attack, and his brother had a massive heart attack a week prior to, so obviously with a condition in the family. And they told him that he needed to avoid stress. Welcome to the real estate industry. And all of my brokers within an hour and a half of where he was went and took turns and did 2 to 4 hour shifts, and they were the broker of record for that office and made sure that every broker question was answered so that he had plenty of time to heal. And they said, we got to go back with the chicken or the ham or the chicken, right? Which one is totally committed, the pig or the chicken? And apparently the pig is more committed, right? And it was just that thing that they decided they were gonna lead by example and they were gonna be what it was they felt like they were to represent, that said, well, we must be onto something really good.
That's great. So I'll add, I think one thing, at least that I've learned throughout my career, is be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Push your limits. Really understand what your capabilities are and stretch those and be okay to fail. Because I'm sure every one of us up here has failed multiple times. So I think it's kind of living with that and making sure that you're really, pushing yourself to your best limits and what you're capable of doing. That's really going to just help you grow with your career. And
I would just simply put, take care of your people and they'll take care of you. Lead with integrity and set the example, because they will eat you alive if you say to do something and you're not doing it yourself. So it's a pretty basic formula, but it's powerful.
I like that out in America, when you were in the military, we first, we've been writing for the last year and a half, promoting the writing of your autobiography more or less in the military. She likes to never get over this. And we're on volume 5 or 6 if you haven't noticed in the magazine. But the idea is that every step of the way you've gone through, you've had to reprove yourself as a woman in the military. Can you really touch that? Because I think leadership is not about just, you hear it so much at the top of the scale that's from the CEO side. I believe leadership is at every level. And someone has to take it, whether you're a newbie in industry, whether you're a newbie in being some kind of manager, it's so huge. And I'd like you to tell just a little bit of framework around that from a perspective of what you've done.
The leadership gave me the military gave me a fantastic foundation. I had done the military for many years, and then I worked in nonprofit, then I worked corporate, then I did my own in entrepreneurship. And these same principles apply to any facet. Again, just be genuine in who you are. You don't have to act like a man or have that kind of leadership style to be successful. I saw many women in corporate and military kind of, hey, this guy is successful, so I'm going to act like I'm this guy. I'm going to choose fit, and I'm going to be all masculine. And I'm like, it's just ridiculous. I'm 125 pounds, but I'll out-hump any of you guys, and I'll outrun you. So, and I'll outsmart you. So, it takes a little while. It takes a good 6 months. Any woman in the room knows that sometimes, to get on equal level playing field, whereas my husband, who is also military, can walk right in and he's one of the boys. I don't think it's any different in any, civil society or military or corporate America. So, I think the more we mentor the younger generation of women coming up that, hey, you know what? You are different. And I wanted to be one of the boys, I get it. I didn't want to be separate, and I didn't want to be looked at like I'm the woman pilot. I just don't want the attention. But then you recognize we are different, and we do have different strengths, and we should own that. And when you do that, then how, again, powerful it is balance when you're the only woman at the table all the time, right? And, we're not geniuses sitting up here, but it's amazing how many times you're like, damn, am I the only one seeing this? Like, seriously, what is wrong with these guys? And it's not that I'm any smarter, it's just that we approach things differently. And that's what we're talking about, diversity and leadership and different schools of thought, different backgrounds, different religions, different cultures, different, skin tones, different gender. It's pretty impactful. The numbers show that over and over again. So leadership, military, anything, it's all the same. Just figure out who you are, figure out your strengths, outsource your weaknesses, continue to grow, and then collaborate as women. Help each other out and do not throw each other under the bus. And you know what? If you're 20 and say, I don't need you marching for me and I don't need you in DC legislating for me, you haven't been in the real world yet. You do. So you'll figure it out if you do take risks. And you do listen to the universe sending you signals, and you can try to ignore it, but life has a funny way of pointing you in a direction where you may or may not want to go, but it all makes sense eventually. So it's like talking.
You know how simple she makes it?
Sounds easy.
Let me just slow.
Yeah. I think it's really important, and something that I think was brought up on the MBA panel as well, is not only mentorship, but championing each other, championing women, right? Women helping women, arms on each other's back. For me, that didn't come naturally. I work in an industry that is male dominated, and I've always felt like, hey, I can be one of the guys, no big deal, I'll throw an elbow, right? And it wasn't until, I want to say maybe 2004, before I worked for Fannie Mae, I was working for a bank, a commercial bank, and I was a regional manager of their appraisal department. And this young loan young processor sat outside my office. And she was the hardest working bank, and I watched her day in and day out. She would be there before I was there, and she would stay as late as I stayed. And one day she was in tears, and I went out and put my hand on her back, and I said, what's wrong? And she said, I'm at my performance evaluation, and because I had to miss X amount of time because of child care and child issues, I am not going to reach the pay increase that I was hoping for and that next level. And she was the hardest working on that team. And I thought to myself, she's in the wrong role. She is in the wrong role. She needs something that she can be flexible, and I think I can get that to her. And so after a lot of schmoozing and moving things around, I brought her into my department as a trainee and was able to train her up in a matter of a year and a half, where she was a licensed real estate appraiser working from her home. She had the ability to set up on the schedule as long as she was getting her work done. I didn't think it would be a problem, and I witnessed her ethic, right? And once I had accomplished that with her, I started looking around saying, who else can I help? Because we have a lot of single women out there, and I don't have children, but we have a lot of single women that have children that are struggling, and they could be more if they were given an opportunity, right? And so I was very fortunate to have that lesson early on, and in my career I've been able to bring, I think, 6 or 7 single women to licensing. For their family, and that's something that's so important that we can give, and that's really on all of us as leaders in here. We all need to champion women, and we all need to champion diversity in women, because our sisters of color have it a little tougher than we do too as women, so we need to be aware.
I'm going to double up on what both of you said, because I've been in business a long time, decades. We'll leave it there. A number of them, one hand, but still decades. And the thing is, I never knew that I needed a female network. Never. I've always worked in a very male-dominated industry. I've always been the only woman in the room, but it never bothered me. That's fine, whatever, it's cool. I don't know, and so a couple of things that happened pretty close to one another. One was I was having the coaching session with my male counterparts about presentations, and this female lady had said to me, or she said to all of us really, what do you want the audience to lead with? And I said I wanted them to understand that I know their business and that I understand their problems and I want to help them, whatever. And I don't remember what the other people said, but I do recall that she called me out and said, well, that's a very common female mistake to make, that you are wanting to express that much empathy and you're not just telling them what you're going to do for them. And first of all, I'm in front of my male colleagues and I want to choke you now for saying that was a female thing to do. But in the second place, the whole position was that to have a successful presentation, I needed to be male in the way I did it. And I actually don't want to be male, I'm quite comfortable being female. So that happened, and then less than a couple of months later, I had won an award, and I had people in the company, like from different departments. Our HR department, I remember, was the first person who pulled me aside and said how much they looked up to me and how proud they were, to have a female on the executive team. And then other people in our technology place did. And I realized I just have this responsibility. If I'm not helping them, I'm hurting them. And I want to be inclusive, and so it's not necessarily a female thing. I want to help anybody who needs help. But this particular group of people, they're reaching out, saying, we need help. And so I think it's just so important to be that leader that can make that difference in the individual's life or in the collective life. So the more that we can do to bring each other together, whomever needs that help, I think the better we all are.
I think we all want to change the world, right? But that happens one case at a time. And when you can help 1 or 2 or 3 people get to a place where they are comfortable, where they're happy, where they are succeeding, that can be enough.
We have leaders from every walk of life, and they are 20-somethings, 30-somethings, 40-somethings, 50-somethings, 60-somethings, 70-somethings, and our role is always catch them doing something good. People become what you tell them they can be, and that is such an important thing, to be able to see something really great in somebody, because most people have not had the exposure or the experiences. There's an awful lot of people out there that have never had the experience of somebody working in a bigger job. Everybody in their family's been hourly employees. They've never had anybody having ownership or whatever the circumstances are that they didn't have. And so I think our job is to really put those experiences in front of them and let them see possibilities of who it is that they can become. You've got to catch them doing something really good. But on the other side of that, as a leader, you also have to catch the people that aren't doing their job and make sure that you have the conversations with them. I find the easiest way for me is I care enough about you to have this conversation. But I never let anybody go past a certain amount of time if they're not doing their job. My rule is 90 days to greatness. We're going to know in 90 days whether I'm the right person and we're the right company to get the most and the best out of you. But if you can start it with, I care enough about you to have this conversation, it really works. But on the other side, with the people that you're trying to help, catch people doing something good. Very few people do that. And when you can see a talent in somebody, so many of them don't know what they're meant to do yet. And when you can catch them and they realize it, they really do become that person.
Everyone has, thank you, Hannah, it's fantastic. Everyone has an insecurity. It doesn't matter if I'm speaking to family offices that, you know, are 100 million or above, you know, multi-billionaires, they still have their self-doubt. Or you have $5 to your name, or don't have any, homeless on the streets. So the idea is that we all want to hear that we're doing better. That's one of the things for 2019. As my own personal goal for 2019 is to say thank you more, and to appreciate not just that I talk about you, and if I talk about you, that means I really care about you, and I really care what you're doing. But I also have to go back to those people and say thank you for who you are and what you're doing. And those who know me know that that is one of my severe deficiencies that I'm really trying to overcome. Because if you hear I say that I like you, and I talk about who and what you are, and I can rattle everyone's stats here, that means that I deeply care about you, but it doesn't go back and resonate to the person. We all like to hear thank you, and it could be as simple as you look great, and be sincere about it, or thank you for what you're doing. And case in point is like when Tammy told me 3 years ago, I think you had given $4 million at that time to Habitat Humanity. I said, how come no one knows about that? How come you haven't told everyone that you're giving 10% of every transaction to? Well, we do. Then if I've been an agent for 30 years, how come I don't know about it? How come it's not out there? So those are the things that I said, thank you for doing that, because you're paying it forward to everyone else. And it's not just about a gender lens perspective. It's about us as ability for a leader to come out and acknowledge someone else is doing it good. And heard about you might not be in that position or 90 days platform to get in to realize how great they are. And no matter what age we are, even if we're going into the aging population, having someone say, you've done this well, or something that is just as simple as can be, take that moment to say thank you.
There's a great book, and it's called The Power of Human, and it just came out, and it's a little dry, but it talks so much about how much we're losing our humanity and how important it is to have humanity and make it personal. I recommend it to absolutely everybody. It's amazing for just really making you realize when you're having a conversation with someone that you're not waiting to think of what you're going to say next, that you're really listening and you're really present, and that you're really present when people have stuff going on in their lives. Somebody on the MBA platform mentioned getting to know people, and it's so important. Do your homework on those people and find out what's really important to them. There's another great book called The Dream Manager, and finding out what people's dreams are and what they aspire to be and where they want to go with their lives, even if it's not going to be with you for the rest of their lives. That's okay. Helping them to get there will only increase the value of what it is that you're going to do.
Yes, please. Questions? I was just remembering. Anyone have any questions? Stand up.
I just wanted to say, as a broker auctioneer, I commend all of you in the women's world. I recently spoke at NAA, the auction, where I belong. Years ago, to be a woman auctioneer was unheard of. and I went to New Orleans to the conference. And I walked in the door, and the man grabbed me by the arm, and he said, all the women and secretaries are going to the aquarium. This is only for auctioneers. And I said, well, I'm one of the first California real estate auctioneers, and I'm coming in. And he grabbed me again and said, and I said, well, I'm coming in. And all during the conference, he said, we sell pigs, we sell chickens, we sell horses. Should be louder. We sell pigs, we sell horses, etc. And that lady thinks she's going to make a living selling real estate. I want you to know that 75% of the auctioneers now are women.
Right? Isn't that what you sent an email saying that was the very first auction you ever conducted or property was
I
here?
was the very first real estate licensed auctioneer in the state of California.
Right, but you sold your first property here.
My first property I sold here was an estate 15 years ago at 1234 Oak Mill Drive for $1.2 million. Had the auction right at this hotel.
Any other questions, please?
My name's Desiree. Hello. As you guys are talking about championing culture and being a representation of culture, one thing that I kind of wanted to ask the NDILC panel, but also for you all as well, is how are you going about having that conversation with your fellow female executives, where they feel like they're championing culture because they're a representative of culture, they are female in executive leadership positions, but they get to a point where they're still challenging those around them, right? So even in the discussion we're having here, you're talking about championing those underneath you, finding ways to get those women to feel empowered, but at the same time, the other women, once they get there, they tend to have that separation again. They go, I've made it, this is me, here I am, here I go. And how are you having that conversation with them to maintain that same dialogue of you're still in that place of encouragement, growth, and those around you in the same goals?
Can I contribute?
Absolutely.
I hope that next year we have a chance to talk about this very question again, because there's I have a counterpart who works with me who is also female at the C-suite level and less inclined. She's pretty busy in what it is she's doing, so less inclined to perhaps attend a conference like this. So my plan, non-executed so far, so I think next year would be a cool time to ask how it went. But my plan is by example, right? That's really, and just not being intimidated by unwillingness to have the conversation, still have it, even if it's met with a little bit of a wall of resistance, that's okay. And just leading by example, because I truly believe that the teams will perform better in the conditions where there's more acceptance than when there's more hierarchy. So we'll see how that goes.
I'm sorry. Well, in our organization, that culture has been created so that everyone helps each other. And they literally, we believe that everyone has a vested interest in the other person's success. And that culture has been created so strongly. We do lead by example, and we remind them all the time. And I think communication, you have to over-communicate all the time. And it's our responsibility to bring that next level up. That you should have a succession plan. Who's going to be your replacement? Because how are you going to grow further if you don't have a succession plan? So you catch other people doing something good too, and everybody works together as a team. So I don't find that where we are. But every time we catch somebody that is only all about themselves, that goes back into I care enough about you to have this conversation, because it might not be a fit for your company. And if that culture doesn't fit your company, that can wash out so many people. But once you get up to a certain level, I find that those people, they work themselves out of a job because they don't feel like they fit. And if you really do live that culture, I see it change strongly.
I would just say to kind of piggyback on the lead by example, you can also use triggers. That's something that I've done in recent months is, hey, we have another woman executive joining us. Isn't that exciting? And actually verbalizing that to my women partners that sit at the same table as I do, or isn't this great about this piece of whatever it has to. It could be a piece of news, it could be celebrating, something I saw on LinkedIn about another woman getting onto a board. It could be any of those things but talking about it, verbalizing it, and using triggers to show feel that, hey, this is something I'm really interested in, this is something I really care about, and hopefully you will join me. And I think that if you are passionate about inclusivity, did I just make that up? If you are passionate about that and it's authentic, I think that it is contagious. And I think that people, there's a quote that I'm probably going to butcher it by RBG that says, you know, leading people, using your ideas and your words to bring people along with you, not to force them. And I think that you can really do that if it takes time.
Boy, I'm going to tell you guys, y'all know what I'm going to tell you guys, because I've experienced, you know, I think it's really tough, because I think women in general, we can be catty, we can be jealous, we can be everything that I wish we weren't, right? And I don't know, it sounds like we're all experiencing some things, but I tell you, I've actually experienced situations where I'm like, I can't believe that, just like you heard Marsha say, this person stabbed me in the back, you know, when I don't understand why, you know, why they're doing that. So I think, honestly, having the conversation like we're having right now is really important, and also making sure that you stand off and say, wait a minute, am I doing that? Am I being that way? Am I not promoting the people that I need to be promoting and making sure they get recognized? Because I always have the saying, as I come up the ladder, let me bring you up the ladder with me, okay? Because those people are going to be the most loyal to you as a group, and just like, you know, I think you said, Tammy, you've got to find somebody that's going to be taking your place, but, you know, that you can actually, you have a succession plan in place, because you obviously want to move up, and I think that sometimes we get scared, and being Latina, I think, oh gosh, you know, I don't want to be the only Latino. What if they only take one woman, right? You've heard that saying, and I'm it, right? So you've got to remember, you know, that inclusivity means just that. But you also have to remember that you also want to include other people and not always just go for a woman if they're not the right person. Because I see that happen a lot. I'm going to vote for them because vote for the right person, the right job, the right opportunity, because that's really what's going to make the difference. And remember, bring other people along and promote them and give them credit. Because I think a lot of times, right, we don't, hey, it's not, you know, right. And also, you want to take credit, right? No. You know, it was Tammy that came up with that idea. She works on my team, and I'm so happy that she's with me, because if she hadn't done that, we wouldn't be where we are. So just make sure that you do that, because that's what's going to make the biggest difference. And people will see that in you. And that's what it's going to help you.
You place yourself back in time. So Chitra, you know.
Yeah, practical implementation of program that work is, as women leaders, we need to make a commitment. So that's what work that I do. Given we are in technology, women are very represented in, practically a minority there. So any women leader we promoted or we would recommend always need to make a commitment. So we would actually track. So there's a measurement process in terms of how many other women I would mentor. Or every country I would travel, I would make time to meet the women technical folks so that we can identify the next wave of talent. So we have very concrete, it's not just concept and talking, but really a program and implementation in terms of measurable expectation. And we would evaluate ourselves at the end of the year. How many women did we bring up to the attention of the senior leadership for the next wave of leaders? So nothing like visibility and monitoring gives power to making a true change. So that's what I would recommend in terms of actualizing any of the expectations that we want to achieve.
The interesting thing, thank you, Chitra, is that Chitra was a former IBM fellow at the highest award you can get at IBM out of 600,000 employees, and she's the first one of Indian descent. I think the only one of Indian descent. And if you think about the perspective, STEM, of color, women, we go down the list, right? And being 35 years in AI, it really has to resonate with the fact is that
we all have to continue and grow and just you don't want to reinvent the wheel, but you have to leverage, and this is what this group is about, is leveraging each other's minds, resources, and information, and their life experiences, because it's not always the professional end that we help each other, it's also from the personal end that we help each other. Whether we're cancer survivors, whether we're, have to deal with the mental health, which is a huge crisis in North County where headquarters is. 30 years old, we have a huge epidemic and entitled to everything. And that's become a real big norm of mental health, of the stress that's in. So in closing, because we're having cocktails and hors d'oeuvres or right across the courtyard. In closing, real quick, I'd like to have each one of you quickly, like Marcia did, what is the one piece of advice that we haven't heard that I know it's going to be tough, but you believe that would be that they could take back to their sphere of influence, their executive team that they have, and also the people that they talk to on a family basis. So it doesn't have to be just professional. That can really resonate that they might not have known before. And keep it short.
So I think that's kind of hard between the two panels, but I will still go back to, I think empathy is important, and just understanding the people that we're working with. To be a good leader, you have to kind of understand their circumstances, and everyone's a little bit different. And if you do that, like someone said, you get loyalty and trust from these people, and that's when they excel.
Generosity of sharing, that's what I would suggest. We all have come up high in our careers, in our journey, because we stood on the shoulders of other giants. And it's always, I think, wise to remember the journey we have taken and make sure we are pulling others along in that journey.
Love that. I think the one thing that God gave us as women is instinct. And sometimes we go against it. So trust your instinct. If the situation doesn't feel right, don't let somebody else talk you out of something that you know is the right move that you need to be making, or the right hire, or if somebody's trying to convince you to do something that you know in your gut is not good, go with your gut. Because guess what? 99% is almost always right. It's that natural instinct that God gave you that you have. So trust in that and don't doubt yourself. Don't doubt yourself.
Have you done a survey on that? We sure it's 99% not.
Actually, I have stats on
That's
that.
right.
Yes, I have stats.
I agree with the instinct and your gut, but I have a tattoo on my back. I lost it, that's a different story. I have a tattoo on my back that says, be true to yourself and you'll be able to lead others. And I think that that's very true, that you have to be truly authentic with everybody around. But probably the biggest piece of advice is there's a very big difference between empathy and sympathy. Understanding where somebody is and where somebody's coming from, they still have a job to do. Saving people is for Sunday. And so they still have a job to do. There's a dramatically different piece from empathy. Sympathy, I go down in the same hole that they're in. Empathy is I understand where they are, but they still have a responsibility to help themselves get out of it. And I think that's really important. Or you're just going to have a lot of followers. In our business, because there's so many people in sales, there's an awful lot of people that just have no place to go when they come in to go to work, and that's not a reason to have a job.
I'd say for me, if there's a win, if there's a success, it's a team success. And if there's a loss, it's your loss. And having that mentality about how you handle your team and your business will help lead the right way.
I would say, don't let anybody tell you to wait your turn and that this is not your time. Because I've had people tell me that before, and that's not the case. If you are the top performer, if you are the top leader, it is your time. Don't wait your turn. Throw an elbow and get in.
I don't want to sit next to her anymore.
Erica, bring it home.
Yeah, I've already said some pieces, but be firm, be fair, and her point is so valid. We're in an interesting time with this whole Me Too. This is a really strange opportunity, but it also is creating, I think, a little bit of fear from our male colleagues. So if I were to touch military and corporate, military culture, I go to my senior female generals, the few of them that they are, and they really don't want anything to do with anything that has the word women in it, because they're afraid it's going to hurt their career. So don't be afraid to educate and bring them outside of their, I get some of these military leaders out, and I get some of these corporate women out who are just like, I just want to get in front of the boss. This is about me. They want me to create a women's platform. And again, their time will come, they will be eaten by their own. But if you can, like what I do to women that are our level or even higher, is just get them out of their box, get them around other powerful women. I do that with a ton of colleagues. And they're like, wow, I've never been around this kind of energy or this kind of support, because they're used to seeing people just be competitive and eat their own. And it's not what we need to be doing. We need to get them to events where we're like, listen, let's educate you a little bit, let's inform you, because a lot of them aren't informed of the issues that are happening legislatively, or the biases, or what these numbers and underrepresentation mean, all of these things. Educate them, get them out of the box, and then let them spread their wings, and hopefully they come to people that have been around and ask questions.
Awesome, thank you. So we're going to have, immediately following this, is going to be in the courtyard, so directly across, there's a door to go out there. There'll be cocktails and hors d'oeuvres. So